don't have energy before, but this was definitely.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, you were had pretty good seats. You were in what, the north end zone, or what? I
Uh,
guess I forgot what they
it was
got.
right. It was literally right next to the intro. So like, what they
Okay,
usually it was
so
section
you
one,
saw them come out, like,
section 119.
okay,
I was like kind of beside the intro. So like as they were coming out, I seen like their sides, and then you can see like the
okay,
back of the jerseys when they were coming out. But we were right there. So like when the smoke was coming out, like our section was just covered in smoke. We could still see through it, but yeah, we were right there. Like I might as well have been on the field with them. It was definitely some good seats, and we got some good shots. We can probably show y'all in a little bit from that game.
yeah. I heard like the night games for the Ravens, like they had the lights doing the thing and stuff, like the night games and stuff.
Flashing, yeah,
I heard I heard that's a pretty good experience there for the night
Yeah.
game. So
they're still doing the Omar from the Wire whistle, so they're still
okay,
Yeah.
doing that. I don't
okay,
think
okay.
we're anytime soon. Yeah, it was definitely they do it right down there in Baltimore. They do the fan experience and all of that, the intros, the production, A1 for sure.
Yeah, I'm hoping the Orioles are catching up. They got like what was it, the sprinkler section or whatever, when or any of the Oriole gets like an extra base hit or a home run, and they
Yeah,
get the hose out and stuff. So they're starting, they're getting ready, but
yeah,
postseason coming up. I hope they got something,
yeah.
ready to go.
And also they were honoring the the s- the older Ravens, I believe from the last Super Bowl team.
Oh,
Oh,
So
okay,
nice.
Lodinata was there, Torrey Smith, and they were all like right there on my side.
oh, okay.
Jonathan Ogden was there, Bart Scott,
Nice.
um, pretty much all the legends. Ray obviously wasn't there for this. Todd Heap was there. Dennis Pitta was there. I think Dennis Pitta came out with the shield for the game. But yeah, it was Ray Rice was there. They got they got loud for Ray Rice, man. Like
They said he's been the last couple of years now. He's kind of
yeah,
been
he,
become more involved with the Baltimore Ravens, which is nice. I'm glad
yeah, yeah,
they
he's
brought
been
him back
huge.
into the fold.
Yeah, definitely been
That's
huge
good.
in the community as well. And I think the fans have taken notice to that. So they definitely show him a lot of love when he came out. But yeah, it was dope seeing all of the originals out there. And they all look good too, man. Like sometimes we see these players a few years later and they be looking crazy. They were looking good for the most part. Even when Jamal Lewis came out, he was looking good too. So
Okay.
yeah, it was good seeing those guys out there.
Nice.
Definitely a fun game.
So I mean, first half was I did my halftime from the hammock thing, and I was sitting there like, all right, it's what was it, 7-3 or something like that.
Yep.
I was like,
Or 7-6. Which
seven
one?
C, yeah, it was something like,
Yeah,
yeah, 7-6. I think they missed
yeah, I
extra
think
point.
field goals. Yeah,
um and I was like, I don't like this. It's a little too close for comfort right now.
mhm.
They got together in that second half, though. The first two drives, they ended up, scoring touchdowns, and I'll show the this one real quick of you getting JK's.
Spread it out. Keep tight, man.
Yeah, that was a good shot right there. JK jumping in. You could tell he was feeling that touchdown.
Mhm.
I mean, just getting back on the field after having last season, but then I think the very next drive before Justice Hill scores a touchdown, he gets tackled and his Achilles pops, and looks like that's the end for J.K. Dobbins here. I mean, he was on a rookie. This is the last year of his rookie deal. I don't think the Ravens have picked up his fifth-year option.
Mm-mm.
They showed Patrick Queen after the game. Was clearly, very emotional for J.K. A lot of the guys were, because I mean, anytime you see guys that were, I mean, towards the end of the season, especially, they had guys like they're tired of the Roman offense. They didn't feel utilized, and J.K. was kind of the mouthpiece was saying the stuff a lot of those guys felt. They didn't say it out like he did, but he was kind of that voice for them. And then this happens, but prayers up to him, and I'm hoping like I said, I don't know what the future holds. He's had significant knee damage already, and now with an Achilles injury for a running back. I don't know. I know that the league itself, the NFL, is not in the business of doing favors for people. They do have to go win football games, and I'll say this: I think if he's, knowing the situation now, he would probably have to come back on some kind of team-friendly deal if they do bring him back. I think if he came back and did a physical and came back and rehabbed and looked explosive or looked like what he did before he got hurt, then I think the Ravens would, hey, why not? The way the Ravens play football and run the ball, he would have a spot here. But it also depends on the draft. The Ravens going to find his replacement in the third round or something like that. They ain't bringing him back.
Yeah.
We saw it with Ray Rice. They had opportunities after the whole stuff went down to bring him back. Never brought him back. So we'll see. What was your guys' take on the game? You were there, Trey, seeing it live. You can just tell me what the crowd got really quiet. I'm pretty sure at one point, a few points in that game.
Yeah, it was. I think a lot of people was about to almost throw up when that happened, man. Like it was crazy. So like I said earlier, the intros, they damn near blew the top off the stadium. This was like the complete opposite. It was like deflated. It was like deflating, and we kind of seen it on the Titantron. Like I seen when he got tackled, and he got up kind of funny. I thought it was weird, and then he was walking up the sideline. I was like, and he was calling for a sub, and I was like, I told the guy next, I'm like, this ain't good. I'm like, it don't look too good at all. So the next play is going on. I'm still looking at JK, and now his walking is getting more and more ginger, and I'm like, yeah. And then he walked to those, to those steps on the 50-yard line or wherever that is, where they go downstairs. Yeah, and that's how you knew. I was like, that's not good. But initially, I thought it was a knee. I thought it was a knee issue, considering what he's coming back from. But the fact that it's an Achilles, I mean, obviously done for the year, immediate season ender. But Justice Hill did come back from a similar injury. I don't know if there's like different grades of Achilles tears and things like that, but you can come back from it. And the fact that it wasn't another knee injury, that's a little bit promising. I do think that his future in Baltimore is probably over, only because of like timing. I mean, not going to be back to full strength until this time next year, maybe a little bit sooner. I think the timetable is probably like 9 months or something like that. But I mean, all in all, by the time you come back, practice, get reps, and all that stuff, like the Ravens just may not have the time to even invest in putting him on the roster at this point. I mean, I think it's probably going to be best for him to seek out a new team and try to maybe get a fresh start. But I do think he's going to make a comeback. It just depends on where that comeback's going to be. I just don't see it in Baltimore. I mean, we have four backs on the roster right now. We don't know how it's going to look next week. I mean, next week they may show that we might not need a new running back, or they might show that we really need one. And like you said, Miles, we might address it in the draft. But outside of that, as far as the game itself, obviously, but across the board, I think everybody was a little bit underwhelmed by what we saw. It wasn't nothing that pretty much met what the expectations were, but there were good signs, and I think it was pretty, for the game. I mean, at the end of the day, we still got the W. We didn't throughout the game. There was no point in the game where we thought we were in danger of losing, even when the score was kind of close. But I think it's really just knocking all that rust off. I'm hoping that's what this week was. I mean, none of our starters played in the preseason for the most part. None of our like offensive starters for the most part played, outside of like Zay Flowers played a couple of drives here and there. So like that's not really something that we're used to. Even though they've been kind of dialing back preseason, we've always had like starters play maybe the third game or a few drives, and them not playing, it kind of like showed. I'm not saying that's the reason, but there was obviously some rust out there. I think a lot of the stuff that we saw, which is a good thing, I think a lot of that stuff is correctable things. The only real concern that I had throughout the course of the game was the offensive line. So watching that did not make me feel good. And I'm talking before Ronnie Stanley went down and before Tyler Linderbaum went down. It didn't look all that great. Lamar was pretty much running for his life majority of that game. And his numbers were not good when he was pressured. But when he wasn't pressured, you saw that his numbers were great. I think majority of the yards he threw for were the yards where he stayed relatively clean. So that was pretty much my takeaway offensively was that I did like, Odell getting in there, getting a couple of catches. I did like, or that might have been his only catch. I think the other ones he was just drawing PIs because he was beating people on routes. And we obviously love what we saw out of Zay. I think that's probably the best rookie debut wide receiver performance we've seen on our side.
At least here,
Yeah, like nine targets is crazy for your rookie wide receiver. Not 9 targets. I think 9 receptions is crazy. He had more targets than that, so that's a great sign, and it shows to the chemistry that those guys already have just from the offseason and training camp. So that was a good sign. Also, a good sign is that we didn't really lean on no tight ends this game. I know Andrews was out, but like
I think Likely got 1 target.
yeah, Likely got
and Kolar got 1.
Right.
Yeah.
But
That was
outside of that, like that was very different seeing us not having to over depend on the tight ends. Now I'm sure that'll change when Andrews gets back,
Yeah.
and I want him to be involved, obviously. But it was just refreshing to know that we didn't have to go to our tight ends to make any type of production on offense. So that was decent. And our running game was obviously, it was decent. It was okay, but you could see like all those guys are going to get more opportunities now because JK is not there. So we'll get kind of a better testament of what that's going to look like this week coming up. And defense, I mean, I had nothing bad to say about the defense. They look great. I mean, we finally seen the Ojabo sighting. We seen Oweh get in there. He was looking really, really good against the run. Clowney almost had a sack. Matabike, I think he got a sack. The D line looked great. Now, am I like thoroughly impressed? No, because the Texans' whole right side of the offensive line was out of the game. They didn't play.
Right.
So you still got to show me some more, but I'm glad that they showed us something. So that's very promising. And I wasn't mad at the DBs either. I think the DBs played an okay game. There were some throws across the middle. I wish they could have did a better job on, but for the most part, they had them playing prevent defense like on the secondary. They were just keeping everything in front of them. They weren't, no passes really got over top of them. So that was good to see. It does sound like Rock Yassin, they were just being cautious with them, and they kind of worked them in towards the end of the game. So I'm not really, as concerned with that. At first, I was like, is he just not beat out Ronald Darby, or what's going on? But it's good to know that they that was the reason. And yeah, that was pretty much my take. And Roquan at PQ, 27 tackles.
Midseason form, man.
Yeah, they killed it.
Like, come on, man. Like they look great. They look phenomenal, and I'm looking forward to seeing that duo.
I'm hoping the Ravens keep them together. I mean, those two together. I mean, it reminds me of like Ray Lewis and Bart Scott back in the day.
No, I know. I don't want to speak too soon, man, but I mean that I feel like that's something that we expected. They pretty much showed us what we expected and then some. Like they pretty much overachieved in that game.
Yeah.
And they look great. They were hungry. And if you go back and watch The Wire with Roquan, like he was talking trash. Like he was loving it. So that's really my takeaway. It sucks that Marcus Williams. Hopefully he's not going to be out for too long. He's probably going to miss a chunk of the year off that torn pec. I don't know how serious it is, but that's another blow. But I'm not as concerned at the safety position. Now that he picked up Harmon, which solid. Got some good numbers on his resume. But yeah, all in all, defense looked phenomenal. Didn't allow a touchdown. I'll take it. So, a win is a win. It was the Texans.
Week 1, I'll take it. Man.
I'll take it. Week 1, it's a win. But
a lot of teams lost week 1. Teams lost.
Facts.
We weren't one of them.
Listen, we want to know the Steelers are not, the Bengals are not.
I'll take it.
I'll take that.
Man, I feel like the Ravens sleptwalked through this whole game. Like I think I said in the chat, like I know we're not having a hardball game week 1 where we just like don't show
it
up.
felt like it, right?
Yeah, but as I calmed down and became more mature throughout the game, I realized that we had to shake off some rust, like you all said.
Yeah.
But man, it just felt like a bunch of sleepwalking, especially Lamar. Lamar looked like he really was not passionate about this game. Like he was just going through the
Yeah.
motions. It looked like it literally looked like he was in preseason form. Like he was like, let me just see what this looks like. Da 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 da. But he was under pressure the whole game. So like, his numbers don't look bad from like an accuracy standpoint. Like he didn't miss a lot of throws. He missed some opportunities, especially with the option. Because when you go back and look at the all 22, like when they're running the read option, he has some opportunities to pull it and be out. But he didn't take it. And that's what I've been kind of like seeing as far as feedback. And when I've watched back is like Lamar was making a concerted effort not to run. And it seemed like the game plan was a concerted effort to not have design runs or mainly just to keep him in the pocket. I don't think that's going to be the key to success. That's probably something we'll talk about later. But, I was just thoroughly disappointed with the offensive line all the way across the board. I mean, Zeitler was awful.
Yeah.
Zeitler was god awful. Moses started strong, and then I don't care for Morgan Moses. Me and him still got those hands, but towards the second half of that game, he was terrible as well. I'm just really concerned about the offensive line. I'm hoping it's an aberration. It's them shaking off rust, shaking off the rust of their feet, or I don't know. But they were just getting beat left and right. And that's my biggest concern. The skill guys, they struggle to get open at times. But there were other opportunities where they did get open. But I don't know how much we could have done in this game. I don't see a possibility of Lamar having a big game in that game, no matter how he played, just because they didn't have time to attack downfield.
Mm-hmm.
We did nail some downfield throws towards the latter part of the game, but there was really no time for a play to develop, for any magic to be worked. So, the success of this team, we said the receivers all off season, Lamar, first game, it's like, damn, it's the offensive line. Like they're going to have to be the key because we have the weapons. We have Lamar. We need these plays developed. We have these plays designed to put people in space. We have to let them develop. So that's that. With JK, heartbreaking. I only see him coming back if his replacements. I can see him coming back on a minimum deal if his replacements are just trash this year. Like if Justice is a preseason All-American. If Gus, yeah, like if Gus isn't able to truck it down the field and be that big 15 carry back for us, that's the only way I see him coming back. And it's unfortunate because we've been rooting for this man, JK, because we see it. We see the all-pro potential, and it's not like he doesn't play to his potential. It's just something keeps happening.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what it is, man. I don't know what it is, but defensively, man, I love the defense. There's so much more for them to do and to grow from, and you can see it. But then the fact that you see their opportunities to grow, it's like, dang, I can't help but get excited. Like, I mean, this Roquan Patrick Queen thing, they were looking like Kobe and Shaq out there. The way they were man in the middle of that defense. Ojabo, I'm glad to see him have some success. Owe was a monster out there. I know he didn't have a sack, but I mean, he was almost at a high level.
He was very aggressive out there. He was doing the punch moves and all. Like he was a lot more assertive in his pass rush moves this year.
Yeah, these weren't like disappointing almost sacks. These were like high level, like you're really disrupting and making your imprint on the game. And he was phenomenal in the run game. The secondary, Brandon Stevens. I just need him to make some plays, and I had nothing to say. But he was great. He was good in coverage.
Turn your head.
I was rooting for him because he jumped that one ball, and I swore.
Oh, he was millisecond. Millisecond. That was a pick six.
But that's Brandon Stevens for you.
Yeah,
right?
He's always just
right there.
right there. He just misses it every time.
Yeah, but I'll say this: he was smacking them running backs. He was smacking
Yeah.
them receivers. Like, man, he's a hitter for real. But like overall, I was pretty pleased with the defense. It's sad that Marcus Williams is going to be out for a significant amount of time, but I think Geno held it down. I think Geno is a serviceable safety. He's not a game changer unless something he just steps up in a major way. But I think he's serviceable. I think he can hold it down while Marcus Williams is out. But I like what I saw, and it's encouraging. So overall, what I need to see from this team is just more urgency. Hopefully, this is just rust. But I really am concerned about the offensive line. If I was to be in my panic mode and be like, what do we need to make a move for? I mean, I'm looking at a guard, left or right now. So, that's my evaluation of the game.
Yeah. The one sour note I think I also had from the game was the fact that they had 8 penalties for almost 90 something yards in the first half. That was just I get it. It's week 1. I get it, but that Matty BK had like 2 personal fouls for like roughing the passer or a face mask or something. They had several holding calls, false starts, legal shifts. Like it was just, but like a lot of bonehead stuff. Like this is stuff you do pre-snap. Like it was just like, what is happening? And then of course in the third quarter, in the first drive, Harbaugh calls a timeout. I was like, would it be you said it was a Harbaugh game? I was like, this is a Harbaugh classic right here. Panicking, calling a timeout in the first drive of the third quarter. I'm like, what are you doing?
Listen,
You're in the lead.
You fix one thing and you break the other. Like we didn't see no delay of games.
Right, we didn't see no delay of games. We got everything else though. All the rest of the penalties, we got them. If there was a penalty for it, the Ravens got it on Sunday. Yeah. if there was a bingo card, the Ravens got bingo. Like it was, I mean, that was the one thing sour note for that game. I noticed that it was interesting when the right tackle for the Texans went out. The very next play, Ajabo gets the strip sack. When they put that backup right tackle in, Ajabo abused that man. He did some kind of rip move or something, and he was right in Stroud's face, knocked the ball out. So I was like, I'm like, that's good. At least I'll take some baby steps here. In preseason, we saw Ajabo going against the third, fourth string guys, couldn't seem to get any kind of pressure. So at least he's now all right. He's worked his way up to getting past the second string guys. Now he's got to work his way up he can get past those first string guys now. So okay, I'll take it.
Maybe he was holding back, man. Maybe he was holding back.
Yeah, look, that could be the preseason. Could be the case. A lot of times, the guys that just don't want to get themselves hurt, and they know for themselves, like especially if you're making the team, right? If you're making the team, I'm just out here to make sure I don't get hurt. Like I'm not trying to impress nobody. Like I already know my position is solidified. Like I'm not trying to go out here and do any extra. Right. So maybe that's us. Maybe that sack was a sign of things to come. And I also was a big part of the drive, a big part of the game because the Texans were driving down the field on that drive, and Ajabo gets the ball back, and that pretty much closed the game out. Like that was the end of that comeback. So I did like that. Didn't really say Kyle Hamilton was out there. Like he was kind of quiet, but I mean, for the most part, like you guys said, they kind of stayed in that middle intermediate part of the field. Like I said, this is going to be a bend but don't break defense. Like they're going to allow teams to get down to the 35, 30-yard line, but as the field gets shorter, they're going to get a lot more aggressive and hold things back. Like they're now, like I said, if the pass rush starts to evolve and start to get really dominant, then maybe they can start, shutting guys down at the 50-yard line and on their own 40 and stuff like that instead of letting them get down that close.
Right.
Now, like you guys said about Lamar, I mean, did have a great game. They did say on several option plays that he didn't take. I think going forward for Lamar, look, he's got his money now. I feel like he doesn't have really anything else to prove at this point. I mean, I know he doesn't want to, but at the end of the day, like I think somebody called in on the radio made a good point, and that part of Lamar's adding that, like Lamar as a passer, he's okay. He's not great. He could be good at sometimes. He's okay. But adding the fact that he can take 40 yards at any given moment, that's what makes him elite. Like you never know. He could be sitting there in the pocket and delayed rush or whatever, and he just sees the hole and he's gone for 40 yards or a touchdown.
Yeah.
That's what makes him elite. And I think that, I know he wants to be known as a passer and everything else. I think as a player in the NFL, I don't think you really have to worry about what you're known as. What matters is the impact you have on the field. At the end of the day, when they talk about your career, they're not going to talk about how many pass yards you had and stuff like that. Like we talk about Vic to this day. We don't talk about how many pass yards Michael Vick had. We know when he was in his prime, that man dominated a football field. He dominated a football field. So I think at the end of the day, regardless of what the talking heads and NFL Network and ESPN and all the rest of them say, even local, 105.7 fan and all the rest of them say about you, Lamar only threw 250 yards. Yeah, but he scored 4 touchdowns. I mean, you can throw 250, you can throw 250, but he ran 2 touchdowns in and then he threw 2. Like, I don't care how you get it. I really don't. At the end of the day, yards through the air and yards to the ground are the same thing. Last time I checked, yards through the air don't count for double. It's all the same. It's like whether playing in basketball. You can either do a layup or a dunk. Either way, it's 2 points. It doesn't really matter. So it's I think Lamar, or I don't know if T. Martin maybe has to have a talk with him and just say, like, look, man, I understand you want to be known as a passer, but we got to win football games. Like, at this point, now that you got your money, they're not going to be judging you on the stats now. They're going to strictly talk about you and your playoff record. This from here on out. This is what they're going to be talking about. Regardless of how you throw the football from here on out for the next 10 years or whatever through this league, they're going to be talking about your playoff record.
Yeah.
Did he win a Super Bowl? Did he go to the AFC Championship game? Because if you don't do any of that, you could throw for 400 yards every game from here until whenever. And if you don't make the AFC Championship game or the Super Bowl, they're gonna say, yeah, he was okay.
Yeah.
He grew better as a passer, but he wasn't an elite quarterback. You'd be another Kirk Cousins. Like, for real. Like, Kirk Cousins throws a lot. Kirk Cousins, look what he did this weekend. Justin Jefferson almost had 200 yards receiving in week 1. They still lost football game.
Yeah.
They still lost.
To Baker Mayfield.
That's like, you can throw the yards you want. At the end of the day, it's about impact and getting in the end zone. I don't care how you do it. Get in the end zone. So I'm hoping going forward, Lamar, like, if he sees an opportunity, just go take it, because that's going to help the pass game too. Because the Texans said it when they said they came in with the game plan thinking that Lamar was going to do that. They said by the time they hit the second half and realized that he wasn't going to do it, they're like, oh, we'll just keep guys. They were able to put more exotic blitzes and do all kinds of stuff because he was just going to sit there in the pocket and take it. So I feel like for the Ravens offense passing wise, also to get where it needs to go, if Lamar just takes off every now and then, the defense got to stay honest. They got to stay back. They got to stay back so that Lamar can't just take off and allows more underneath stuff and maybe zone. There'll be some more zone coverage stuff so he can throw in the gaps and things like that. So I think Lamar needs to get out of his own head maybe a little bit and just go out there and play football, man. Yeah. Go out there and play football. Don't worry about what everybody's saying about you. Just go out there and play ball.
Even some of those passes, Travis mentioned the All-22 earlier. I had watched some of the All-22 film too, and I did notice, like, a lot of Lamar, the passes he did make, even the ones that he was completing, he was throwing them like really late. It was like if the ball was out when it was supposed to be, like, the players would have better opportunity to make plays after the catch. And I did notice that being a trend. So I don't know if that's like kind of like a Russ thing too, but I'm hoping that after, they watch the film and everything, I'm hoping to see one of those as being one of his big adjustments for this Bengals game, because I seen some of those. I was like, wow, if he threw that a little bit sooner, Bateman is gone. Like, he's to the house. Or if you chose Zay a little bit sooner, he's gone to the house. So I'm hoping they notice that too. If I can notice it, then they should be able to pick up on that, because I seen maybe like 3 or 4 throws, and I think 2 or 3 of them were completions, where it was like, damn, that got out late, and as soon as the receiver caught it, the DB was already on him just because the pass came out late. So hopefully he makes an adjustment on that.
Yeah, and that's been a trend with him. Like, I've noticed that, like, he will hold the ball longer just to get a bigger play. But it's like the play is there.
It's already there.
Timing. But I mean, we'll see if it's Russ. But, like, I think that's a flaw when it comes to Lamar. Like, he's just so pressed to make this big play to prove this point that he can throw the ball. So, that's something that haunts him. But yeah, I totally agree with Trey. Like, there's plays left on the field.
I'm hoping T. Martin can just, now that they're like in the regular season now, and not practice, can actually just like, now Lamar listen, like, hears him out and like, look, I understand you want to throw to Zay, he's 50 yards downfield, but you got Rashad Bateman right here, and there's nobody in the middle of the field. Like, he's able, let your guys make plays for you. I know, like, through the 4 years, you've had to make plays for everyone else because you didn't have a receiving core.
Yeah.
Like, you had Willie Snead and John Brown and all the rest of these dudes and Sammy Watkins or whatever, and you had to make plays for them. You got guys now that can make plays for you. You don't have to do it all. You don't have to wait till they get 50 yards downfield. You got Bateman and Zay now that can, if they get the ball in space, we've seen Zay and Bateman shake guys and break a tackle and get another 12 yards. So I think again, that's going to take some time. Again, it's like, if you've been in a bad relationship for 4 or 5 years, and you're finally in a good one, you start seeing it, you're like, wait,
you gotta build that trust back up with those guys.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, you've had some bad experiences from the past, and this new person walks in your life, and you're just kind of like, I don't know. And you start assuming already that they're going to do this and do that, and like, no, I got you. It's like, all right, I can actually trust you now. So again, that's gonna take some time. I think it's gonna take some time week to week. If he can see those guys like get open, make some plays, and like, all right, I don't have to throw it 40 yards downfield. I can throw a 10-yard slant. He can take it to the house. So, touch on this NFL lawsuit real quick. So, Jim Trotter from formerly of the NFL, I think he was a writer for the NFL or NFL Media Corp or whatever it was, has filed a racial discrimination pretty much lawsuit against the NFL. Now, also in that lawsuit, I don't know if you guys also heard, he alleged comments from Jerry Jones and Bills owner Terry Pagula, basically stating that I'm going to try to pull it up here, what Bills owner Pagula said. Let me see here. Report issues. No. Oh, they didn't put it in here. But basically, Bill Pagula said, and I'm paraphrasing here, but he said, if the players don't like what's going on here, they can just go back to Africa and see how it's going over there. That's
what?
Allegedly. This is all allegedly, but apparently Jim Trotter said that Terry Pagula, the Bills owner, said that.
Africa?
Said go back to Africa and see how you like it over there.
And this came out today.
Yeah. Now, Jerry, yes, I think that the allegation, the lawsuit came out this morning, I think, but the comments were released like yesterday, like last night, something like that. And let's see if I can pull up here real quick. Jerry Jones. Terry Pagula said, if the black players don't like it here, they should go back to Africa and see how bad it is. This was obviously in reference to, I think, during the kneeling. He said that. Then Cowboys owner Jerry Jones, no shock here, says if blacks feel some kind of way, they should buy their own team and hire who they want to hire, regarding the lack of black professionals and coaches and head coaches in the NFL.
This is nasty.
But we're not going to mention that, they need unanimous votes from all the other owners to put a black owner in. So let's come on now. Most of these owners, if there was a black majority, an owner that had the money to come own the team, like, yeah, we're not going to vote for him. They can say no.
They don't want that.
Just say
nope.
Put him on the spot. We care about more race or money. What do you care about?
Those comments are crazy.
The fact I was surprised by that, like, because I never heard anything bad about Bills ownership before, but it's pretty damning. Like, if I'm a player for the Bills, that's one of those, like, you go in the owner's locker, like, you see him at practice the next day, like, what's up, man? Like, go back to Africa? Like, honestly, if I were one of the players, if I was the Bills players, I'll walk into practice. We'd all walk in with like kente cloth and stuff for practice. I'm like, yo, we gonna be real petty about this. We're gonna wear kente cloth to every single game, every game.
That's so wild.
Every game. It's the fact he said go back to Africa. But again,
I'm not shocked. But it's like, Most of these owners, I mean, they probably are racist, but they're like racist in peace. Like they just shut up. They
Yeah.
just in their corner, whatever they do, and we just don't know about it. But I feel like these owners are like speaking up more and more, and now you're getting kind of the gist of what's going on. But
And they're saying it. They're saying it in earshot of people that can.
It's the Trump
hear it.
effect. It's the Trump effect.
They're just saying whatever they want to say. Like whatever.
everybody's emboldened now.
Yeah. They're empowered to show their racism. Like it's the Trump effect. And we're seeing it more publicly. Like we saw like the comments with Gruden and he tried to dress up.
Mhm.
I mean, we've known about Daniel Snyder. Jerry Jones hasn't said like blatant stuff, but his views on things just scream racism.
Yeah.
So like this is not surprising. I mean, I'm surprised that we haven't heard nothing from the players if this came out yesterday, because usually when stuff like this happens, like the phones are going off, like what's going on?
Yeah.
I'm anxious to see what the players are going to say, especially with everything already going on in Buffalo with all their attention. So we'll see.
And the other part too is like we see in NBA, right? We saw what happened with the Clippers' former owner when those comments in that video, that audio came out of him. Like the players wore, remember that I think they wore their jumpsuits, but without the Clippers logo on it, and they had said we're not playing in any Clippers gear, until they're forced to sell the team, and of course they end up selling the team. We see in the NBA a lot, where guys they find this stuff out about ownership or whatever, and they make a stand almost immediately. NFL's been several years of this stuff happening, and a lot of players are, let's be quite frank, are scared. They don't want to rock the boat. Look, Jim Trotter, who worked for the NFL, again, they showed a video either on ESPN or one of the other networks of him, at a press conference that Roger Goodell was holding about like the state of the NFL. And Jim Trotter, who by then he was still hired as a journalist, as a writer for the NFL, basically said like, it's a shame that, for a league that has 75 to 80% black athletes, we have very few black reporters, covering these athletes, and from their experiences. And even he said, even on NFL Network itself, outside of the guys that are former players, there's not really a lot of black journalists on NFL Network doing these shows.
Right.
And a year or two, and then he said the same thing about the executives at the NFL itself. And there's not a lot of senior writers, he said a senior exec in the writers' room that's black, and he was just asking in that. And of course, a year or whatever, half later, after those comments were made, he is let go from the NFL, and they say, we had to let go of some on-air talent and some other talent, so we had to cut costs, and that's why we let him go. So he's doing this lawsuit now, but I'm interested to see, if this does go to court, discovery, if he has receipts, emails, all that kind of stuff to, bring this out. I was telling you guys, obviously, before we got on that Brian Flores' lawsuit is still out there. It's still apparently is going to go to court. They've tried to do arbitration several times. They're trying to work out a deal to give him some money and pay him out, but he said no, he wants to take this to court. So with these. And then apparently the California Attorney General and New York, I think, Attorney General are also suing the NFL for like ageism and some other stuff as well. So they have some hefty lawsuits coming their way. And if any of this stuff comes to light, could potentially hurt them. Now, I'll say this. Let's say it all does come out, right? I don't think it's going to be anything shocking. I think we've all known behind the scenes what goes on at the NFL, especially among its owners. Problem is, who's going to rein them in? There's no board of directors. There's no governing body. They're not traded on the stock market. These guys de facto run their own league. There's nobody to check them. The only way that would happen would be Congress. But then, the senators are like the teams, the owners could call their bluff and say, "Well, I'll just move the team. I'll go move the team," and then they'll say that kind of stuff, or I'll pull your funding. Let's just be real. A lot of these guys, owners, probably do fund several of these political campaigns for some of these senators and House representatives. So they're like, I'll pull out $500,000. I was going to get to your reelection campaign this year. So they have ways. So like, even if this news does come out, and I was like, hey, what are you going to do about it? You're still going to watch on Sunday.
Yeah.
Like that's my only thing. Like, if this does come out, well, I'm like, what changes?
Yeah.
What happens?
It's bad timing too, because it's like it was just week one. Like,
right?
it was just not a time where people were focused on, taking a stand. Like, unfortunately, this is going to be one of those things where it's going to come out. Some money's going to be paid. Things are going to get brushed under the rug, and people are going to move on.
Mhm.
Like, it just is what it is. I just think people are probably like burnt out from this type of stuff, and at this point, people are just trying to get as much money as they can get and move and take care of their family, and it is what it is. I think the realization is that this ain't an isolated situation. I think it's a known thing at this point that this is the type of dealings that all of these organizations have in one way or the other, and it's just a matter of how much do you care to put yourself on the line for it. And I think after the whole cap thing and all of that, like, the NFL just hasn't really been the best place to resolve a lot of these matters. Like, an NBA is a little bit different, obviously. Players have a lot more individuality. They have a lot more control over things. And NFL was kind of like, you don't really have as much leverage. There's a lot more money involved. And like I said, you could be you can end up being on the street begging for a backup QB job 5 years after you left the league, like Kaepernick. So, like, it's kind of like a lost cause. Like, what do you want to do? Do you just want to take care of your family, or do you're not going to get any momentum in week 2 of the NFL season. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah. And I think a common thing you always see, and we're even seeing this with the writer's strike and director strike out in Hollywood. Like, when you have a group that's kind of like done dirty or oppressed, if you just wait them out and just let them, voice their stuff, and you just do nothing, and they eventually get exhausted. And that's how the NFL works. Like, we'll do this surface level stuff because this helps us keep our money up. But in truth and honesty, we're still going to do the same stuff. We're still going to oppress you. And then eventually you're going to get exhausted, and the news cycle is going to constantly change, and nothing is going to happen. And that's unfortunate. That's just a sad reality when you have these white powers that be. They just don't care, but they know if they can just wait it out, it's going to go away, and people are going to be too exhausted to keep fighting.
Yeah, so it's for the NFL, the writer's strike obviously is a different animal. The writers and actors, because, theirs can go on for a while, projects and stuff like that. But the NFL, the players, like, look, when another CBA comes up, I think the last one I got real tired of NFL players going on Twitter complaining about every time the NBA offseason rolls around and MLB rolls around, they see these stupid contracts go up. And they complain about, man, I wish I had that money. I'm like, you guys have you've had opportunities to strike for more money. You won't do it because at the end of the day, the way the structure is paid for these players. I mean, outside of your top guys, these guys live paycheck to paycheck, depending on their family situation, who they're taking care of, housing situation, all that other stuff. A lot of them live paycheck to paycheck, sadly. So there's no concerted effort if they're thinking about striking next season and getting an increase in pay or whatever that may be, because look, this YouTube money starting to come in, this Amazon money is going to be coming in, there's a whole bunch of NFL Plus stream, whatever is going to start to come in. If y'all want, if they are planning on striking, they need to start prepping now. They need to be getting lawyers. They need to be getting some kind of slush fund to, like, if players hit hard times that they can kind of funnel money into. They got to start prepping for that stuff now. To say, hey, we're going to be striking next season. And the owners, of course, are going to call their bluff and try to pit, me and Trey and Travis out there. We're putting our jerseys on, trying to play football. We're out there like, yeah, no one's going to come and watch us play after a while. Like, get these guys back, get off the field. And it's like, we saw what happened with the refs, right? The refs went on a strike. The refs went on strike, and it went, 2 weeks? It went 2 weeks, and we're like, all right, what you guys want? Yeah. This is atrocious. They were literally, those backup refs were blowing football. They were blowing games. Like, there were games, I think that that Seahawks-Packers game, week 1, and they called it an interception when clearly the tie goes to the wide receiver, and it ended up being a pick in the end zone. The game was over. Yeah. Packers lost that game because the ref didn't know the rule. Like,
it's crazy.
They literally costing teams games, and they were like, all right, man. They went to the refs after week 2 and like, what do y'all want? I feel like it would be the same. The NFL would go like 2 or 3 weeks with rep replacement players. And after the fans start not buying tickets, they're not buying jerseys, the stadiums are empty, they're sitting here like, all right, what do y'all want? Because sometimes, look, when you're head of a corporation or head of an entity like that, you think you're the one making things happen. You think they can't do it without me. I don't need y'all. This product is always going to be good as long as I'm running it. But the fact that matters, especially about football, is the reason, and sports in general, the reason why we watch is because these guys and these men and women are phenomenal athletes. They can do things that most people cannot do. And I'm sorry, I don't want to see myself on the football field at 37 years old. I don't want to go out. I'm going to pop an Achilles run out of the tunnel. Okay, I'm gonna put the cleats on around town. I'm gonna be carted right back into the locker room. No one wants to see.
But that's what everybody is. So.
Running out there, pulling hamstrings, all that kind. No.
Listen. Trey has better hands than most of these NFL players. I ain't never seen.
Right? Yeah, I mean, Trey plays in that bowl every Thanksgiving, man. Yeah, you ready? Man.
I didn't drop a lot of footballs back in my day, man.
So I mean, look, I think it's something to keep an eye on. Obviously, like Travis said, from his past history, he doesn't seem like they're going to. It's just going to go. We'll see in the news, and then it'll just going to get washed over, and we'll move on to other stuff.
Unfortunately,
so yeah, we'll see what happens with this. Who knows? And the NFL seems to be like impervious to any bad press. So we'll see what happens, but. I don't know if you guys caught the game. Colorado obviously beat Nebraska. It was a little bit tighter than what it was, but again, Shador Sanders played a phenomenal game. I think he had 393 yards, 2 touchdowns, 31-42. Dylan Edwards had 9 carries for 55 yards. Xavier Weaver down.
Man lost him. Hey, Colorado played good, huh? I don't remember the stats. Come back, Miles. We need the stats.
They balled out. It didn't look as crazy. It definitely wasn't as lopsided. I mean, not lopsided, but definitely wasn't as much of a shootout. But towards the end of that game, they definitely started piling it on towards the end. And Shador looked phenomenal still. So.
Yeah. Man, my only concern with Colorado is they start so slow. And that's going to get them in trouble, especially with who they have coming up. They have, Colorado State this week, but they have a tough matchup right before USC. I just can't even think of it right now. But they've been starting super slow. Like, the one thing I noticed is their offensive game plan is like so conservative in the first half. They're getting the ball in the hands of their playmakers, but, they don't take a lot of shots downfield until the second half of the game. And I don't know if that's by design or just the way it flows. But, I think you run into a beast like Caleb Williams in about 3 weeks. You're not going to be able to play that way. And, I have concerns about their offensive line. Defensively, they looked a lot better. But, overall, they're just a talented team. I know I'm nitpicking right now, but that's because I'm rooting for this team to make the playoffs. I want them to make the college football playoffs. But Travis Hunter is a beast. He didn't have the game that he had the week before. That's because Weaver went off. But I don't see a flaw in Shador's game besides him holding on to the ball too long because he was getting smacked. He was taking shots left and right because he was holding the ball too long. But, he always makes a play out of that pocket. Sometimes he should probably throw it away. But that kid, he's looking like QB3 in the upcoming draft right now.
Yeah. He definitely looked really, really good. There was that 1 2-point conversion play where he was scrambling, went out to the sideline, stayed in bounds. I think they called it incomplete, but the throw to get it in there was epic. So I thought that was awesome. Oh, and they play Oregon after Colorado State.
Yeah. Oh, I'm looking at it now. Look, they're hard. You look at Oregon, USC, UCLA, Stanford, Oregon State, Washington State, Utah. That's they have 6 top 25 teams they're playing the rest of the year.
Yeah.
That's a tough schedule. If they're able, if they win 8 or 9 games, Deion has the coach of the year. because
Yeah,
that's a tough schedule, especially when you had a 1-win team the year before. That's insane.
yeah, yeah, Miles. We were just recapping that game and just looking at Colorado's schedule coming up, and look like it's going to be crazy. Like the
No,
rest.
if he can get through, I'll say this: even whatever happens after the USC game, if he gets through Oregon and USC, it's not
We'll
going to
see why.
matter.
Yeah.
It's not going to really matter. Like I think, like they're already at 22. If you get past USC and Oregon, there's a real possibility they could get up to at least top 10. At least, like they're playing they're a top 10 team. And I'm not saying they'll make the playoff, but definitely top 10. And look, it was funny. They had Mad Dog Russo on, I think, First Take, and it was right before Stephen A. and Shannon took the private jet to Colorado to go see, Deion the home game, and he was rooting for Nebraska. He was like, I'm already, he said, I'm already primed out. It's just too much prime. I'm just like, the reason why Mad Dog Russo is on First Take is because he represents a very big portion of a lot of older sports fans that don't like the younger generation. And Deion's not even young; he's in his 50s, like he's mid 50s. Yeah. I'm like, but Deion understands the kids today. Like Deion understands the young talent today, and he doesn't try to. He doesn't. I'll say. I think he mentioned after. I think it was the first game against TCU, and he asked about like some of the players getting unsportsmanlike conduct penalties after like touchdowns or even after like getting a big hit or something like that. And he was like, I love it. I'm not gonna tell those guys not to do that. Like, because Deion was like, that's what I did. Deion was like, I used to dance in the end zone all the time in Florida State. Like, I would go there and do my little dance inside the end. Like, I'm not gonna tell these guys not to be who they are. Like, if they're playmakers out there, I told you all these kids are playmakers. Y'all didn't want to believe me. I told you all these guys out here are dogs. Like, they this is what they do. But I'm pretty sure now. Look, if they're behind 20 points or something like that, then they have no reason to celebrate. But they were well ahead by the time they were starting to do that kind of stuff. But look, a lot of these college coaches at the end of some of these college coaches, especially older ones, I think we have to understand that they operate like the player is part of the machine at the school, right? There's some of these schools don't even have the names on the back of their jerseys. Like they're just a number. They're a cog in the machine. They play for Nebraska. They play for Penn State or Michigan or whatever. And you're supposed to have school pride, and you're supposed to kind of lose your individualism and just kind of be part of the unit and all that other stuff. But Deion's like, look, if you that dude, if you that guy, show out, because at the end of the day, that's what's gonna get you paid.
Right.
Look at Odell. Like right now, Odell, even they said like even though he's been out of football for the last 2 years, it was still a presence in media and entertainment and all that other stuff because he's Odell Beckham. Because of who he is, and like there are several players. Deion was when you tell about his album, and they had a song that came out all about the money, and I remember they say I was watching that ESPN story, I think, on him, and I think they said he called the Giants. They said they were going to try to take him at the number 1 pick, and he was like, "If y'all draft me, I'm not coming. Just don't pick me." He told him not to draft him. He's like, I don't want to go to your team. Like what college player I like you remember he was like 21, 22 years old, telling a professional football, don't draft me. I'm not coming there. Y'all draft me. Because Deion knew he was like, I'm gonna find a way to get where I need to be.
Yeah.
Like because I'm Deion. So I think he instills that kind of like confidence in those guys, and it's like they play like it. Yeah. I don't think they go in week to week. Like we hear a lot of times that sometimes players, underestimate teams and thing like that. But I think Deion has instilled a mindset in these guys like he had when he was playing. He's like, I understand I'm playing the best of the best, but I'm not going to let that stop me from being great. Like I'm going to go out there. We're going to go out there and play our best football. And I guarantee you, but my guys against your guys, I don't care who they are. We're going to beat you. We're going to beat y'all. I don't care if you're Troy University and I don't care if y'all USC. Like we're going out there and we're going to stomp y'all.
Yeah.
Period. And people are like, and when they asked him about the TCU, I think he's like, were you surprised at the win? He was like, surprised about what? Surprised like y'all were surprised. I was surprised. I know the guys we got here. Surprised about what? He's like, I've been telling y'all since Jackson State. I've been telling y'all, but y'all don't want to believe me. So
Yeah.
I think it's great. Again, great for college football. Everybody's tuned in, man. They said Colorado's tickets have like gone up like 400%, like home ticket sales.
It was like $400 or $500.
Yeah, the resale value.
Yeah.
They said there was more than most football games on week 1.
Yeah.
Colorado's a hot ticket now.
Yep.
I mean, you had Michael Irvin on the sideline.
It was like top 5 in the prices or some top 5 or 10. I can't remember what the number was, but that's wild. They won 1 game last year.
Yeah,
it's the Deion effect, man.
Yeah.
Deion brings the show.
Yeah, as deserved. I mean, he walked the walk and talked the talk his whole life. Like he was the best at what he did when he was in the league. So that's why these kids respect him. I mean, he's a disciplinary, but he also understands, like you said, the importance of the culture and understanding how these kids are these days. So like he's adapted to the new, but he's still come from the old school. So he knows how to incorporate both. And like I said, they have a different respect level for Deion than most of these coaches have in their locker room, just because of what he's been through and where he's been at.
Yeah.
He wasn't just a player in the league, like he was the best. So, it's just different. Like it's just a whole different conversation. You coaching Travis Hunter and Shador and your other son and all these other Weaver and Edwards, like all those guys are some of the top athletes in the country right now. And that's who you were. So they're going to look at you and they're going to follow you because they trust you more than, they probably trust their own damn family. Like they'll run through a brick wall for Deion, and you can see it on the field every week.
Yeah. And I'm going to say this, and this is a little off topic, but Deion has so much clout right now and has so much synergy. If this team loses 3 games or less, keep an eye out. Clemson is looking really rough, and they are not liking their coach right now.
Yeah.
Clemson might throw the big bag at Deion because Clemson has a lot of money. They have a lot of history. I'm telling you, Deion, somebody's going to throw him the bag this offseason if they get 3 or less losses.
Well, look, he always wanted to go to FSU. That's where he went to school. I remember 5-6 years ago, he tried to get a coaching job there, and they kind of snubbed him. So he might feel some type of way. He may want to go back to FSU. But you're right. Debo what's his name? Dabo Sweeney, the head coach at Clemson. Yeah, ever since they won a national title, it's been a little shaky there. Ever since Trevor Lawrence left, it hasn't been the same stuff there. So, also want to mention before we leave, like we were talking about, like the situation, like what's going on in the NFL with the racial stuff or whatever. I know you guys saw that clip. I think we posted in the chat of Florida State beating. I think they're beating LSU. And several of the fans saying, "Go back to the projects."
I thought that was wasn't that
Alabama?
Texas, Alabama.
FSU, Alabama.
Yeah.
Is that FSU, Alabama?
Texas, Alabama.
Texans. All right. The University said Texas versus Alabama, and Alabama fans were saying, "Go back to the projects. Go back to the projects." And I'm just like, y'all have black players too. Yep. They came from the same neighborhoods as these guys. A lot of these guys at Texas probably grew up with several of these guys that are on the other side. Same neighborhood and everything. But that's how they feel. Again, it's the cog thing, right? They love you when you're wearing your colors. They love you when you're wearing the colors. You're not wearing the colors.
It's a shame, man. They get liquored up one of them games, and the truth just
comes out. Not on what was it? I think was it not Rosie? Was it? I think it was Rosie O'Donnell. Was it not Rosie? I forgot her. The one that was on
The View.
The View. Was it The View?
I think it was Rosie O'Donnell.
Was it Rosie O'Donnell? No, the comedian Roseanne Barr.
Roseanne. Oh yeah.
Roseanne. And she made the comment and made some racial comment and said, "Oh yeah, I was on Xanax or something." And the company was like, "One of our side effects is not racist. Don't blame that on us. Don't say that. Oh, it was because I took that pill and then made me sick." And they're like, "Nope, no, don't do that.
Yeah, get out of here.
One of our side effects is not racist. You saying the N-word, and we're not going to do that." So, but again, it's America, right? It's in the NFL, pro football. A lot of these guys, they love it when you wear your jersey on, but in If they didn't know who you were, just another Negro.
Yep.
So, move on to some week 1 news before we obviously talk about that Monday Night Football game. Week 1 was crazy in a sense that I think every young quarterback that got paid outside of Jalen Hurts had a rough game.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody that got paid had a rough game. Daniel Jones did not play well. Joe Burrow threw under 100 yards. Herbert, they lost to the Dolphins. They showed a stat. I think that they 200 yards rushing, no turnovers, threw three touchdowns, something like that. It was like the record is no team has lost. They were like 202 of all the times that a team has had those kind of stats. They've won every time except for this past Sunday. The Chargers found a way to lose that football game. They had all these stats saying the statistics say 100% of the time you should win this football game, and they lost.
Yeah.
The Dolphins, look, I'll say this about the Dolphins real quick. Everybody's on the Dolphins again after week 1. They did the same thing last year. Same thing. Can Tua hold up? That's my question. It's week 1. He looked good. Don't get me wrong. He looked good. Tariq looked like they were showing the video of they had Tariq motioning all over the field. Like he was lined up in the slot. He was lined up outside. He was lined up in the backfield. They had him at one point hiding behind a lineman. Like he was like ducking down and then came like they had him everywhere across it. But it's like you got a guy that fast, you can't guard. If you don't know where he is, like you can't guard him. And that's how it was. He was unguardable. Like this Dolphins offense can be very explosive, but a lot of it really depends on Tua.
Yeah.
Tua, and he's had some up and down games too. Like he is not perfect. He's had some games even before he got hurt. Some games where he was. And he still he doesn't have a big arm either. Like he still can't get the ball 60 yards downfield. Doesn't have a huge arm, but they got the W and whatever. So that was a good win for them. The Buccaneers beat the Vikings. Justin Jefferson had a monster game as usual. 150 yards, 9 catches.
Didn't matter.
I don't know to see. Baker Mayfield had 173 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's it. Kirk Cousins had 344 yards and 2 touchdowns, but he had 1 pick. And that pick was a very big reason why they lost the football game. It's the Vikings, right?
More the same.
Good fantasy QB, not a winner.
Yeah. Now, on the other side of the NFC, Jordan Love had a really good first game. He looked good. Like he looked comfortable. He didn't look like he was like gun shy. Like he didn't look at all like he was being flustered. Like he looked very. There were several times where the pocket is closing in and he's standing right in there. He's like toss. They say he looked like his arm, the way his arm movements there, to look like a younger Aaron Rodgers, the way he was throwing the football. I don't think they have the best receiving core, but with the run game that they have and the defense they have, Packers. I know it was against the Bears. But it was an away game. They beat him in Chicago. Like, it's a heated rivalry. Watch out for Jordan Love. A lot of people said, like, it was real quiet coming out of Green Bay. Like, there wasn't a lot of vitriol coming for Jordan Love. They were saying, like, nah, he looks decent. Like, he doesn't look bad. Like,
yeah.
I think Detroit smokes them, though.
Yeah, Detroit got a squad. But I will say, I did not see Jordan Love. Like, Jordan Love having a good week 1 was not on my bingo card.
No. Now, I picked him up in fantasy as a backup. Luckily, I had him right behind Aaron Rodgers, so. He's my starting QB.
Yeah.
That's poetic.
Yeah.
Hey, I was like, let me pick up a backup.
You had the script and you didn't even know it.
I didn't even know, right? I had no idea. Let's see who else. The 49ers destroyed the Steelers 30-7 in Pittsburgh. Christian McCaffrey hit a mean spin move on somebody, or he did whatever he wanted to do in that game. Now it has come out apparently that Pickens and his quarterback aren't exactly on good terms right now. There's apparently some issues. I'll tell you, the Steelers know how to pick them, right, man?
Love that.
The Steelers know how to pick these wide receivers that seem to have bad attitudes.
Yeah.
Right? They know how to pick them, man. They know how to pick these guys, man. This is now look again. We said, I think all of us we were upset when the Ravens didn't pick Pickens. We went we went past him and took somebody else. We were like, we could have had him, and the Steelers took him. And so far they have the Steelers don't really utilize him that much. I think he finished the game with like maybe 4 or 5 targets. I thought his volume was definitely going to go up after Chase Claypool left. That he was going to get at least 8, 9, 10 targets a game going forward. And it's apparently he's like, according to the stat sheet, he was the 4th guy receiving wise.
Yeah. Remember when Ryan Clark said he's more talented than Justin Jefferson?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not aging well.
I think we get enamored by the crazy catches that he makes instead of looking at the actual game, right? I'm pretty sure if you look at the game, it's like, oh, he makes good catches, but he rarely gets open. And he's like, I don't know if he goes out running.
He's had like a couple of games where he went off, like maybe 2 last season.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they were probably later in the season also, so it's like people are just kind of going off of that. Like he's gonna have a big year this year. Still has a chance to, but
yeah,
you know, it's still Kenny Pickett. I mean, I'm not a super fan of Kenny Pickett by far. I mean, he's a Steeler, so obviously not. But I wasn't too high on him from the beginning.
He threw 46 times for 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions in that game.
So, 46 times, yeah. The Steelers,
46 times,
and they're dealing with their own injury trouble right now.
Yeah, was it Cam Hayward is out
for
he's got a groin situation, and Deontay Johnson's out too. So
yeah, so that's not good for them because they didn't look good with those guys.
Let's see, you talked about that one. Cowboys, Giants. Well, yeah, Browns, Bengals. Didn't see that one coming. I did not. I think I expected a lot close. I could see either one winning because it's a divisional game, week 1, but did not expect a 24-3 Browns.
You're lacking.
I'll say this. The Bengals players need to just shut up. They talk a lot of crap for a team that hasn't done anything. Yeah, you won an AFC championship game. Yeah, you've been to 2 of them, and you haven't won a Super Bowl yet or anything. They talk a lot of crap. They do.
Especially
call them elves.
That was pretty funny. I mean,
they picked the logo, and I was like, when they did, the fans picked the logo that they wanted. I'm like, did the fans really pick that logo?
And then they asked him after the game. He was like, "Yeah, man, like it's like we got beat by some elves." Wow, he doubled down on the trash talk.
Right. It's like you made it worse, man. Like
the loss.
They had it was so bad. Like we saw the clip of Myles Garrett doing like shadow dribbling at the line of scrimmage.
The Euro
he was having a time out there. I'm just playing with y'all at this point. Like, but the Browns have their own, and like Ryan Conklin, their right tackle's out for the year. Not sure what happened to him, but he's out for the season. Burrow only threw 31 times, had 82 yards.
That's insane.
Look, I think that his leg issue is something to monitor. We saw what happened. They said that Aaron Rodgers going into preseason or during preseason had a calf issue, was having some kind of calf issues, and they said usually that's a precursor to an Achilles injury because you have to put more pressure on that tendon when your calf is straining like that. Now, Joe Burrow's had that sleeve, on his right leg, right or left leg now since week 1 of preseason. He hadn't played all of preseason because of that leg. So that's something to watch.
Yeah.
That's something to monitor right now. Like, is he okay? Is he good? Like,
especially with your tackle down,
can he throw off that foot? Like,
we facing a lot more pressure too. So with that injury to his line. So
Jamar Chase only had 39 yards in that game. Like, I can understand Jamar Chase had 100 yards. He's like, I did what I had to do. The rest of y'all were trash, but you only had 39 yards. 39 yards.
39.
So I'm like,
he was a lot of people's first pick in the draft too.
I stay with. I'm not. Look, I'm a Jamar Chase fan. I do like Jamar Chase. I'm not that high on him though.
Yeah,
I think he had that one good game against us, 1 or 2 good games against us, and everybody was like, "Oh, he's an elite wide receiver." Like he's good. Don't get me wrong. He's good, but
he's pretty good.
He's good. He's good. Don't get me wrong, but he
top
some game.
3.
He can
disappear. Yeah, I'm about to say he's still top.
I'm not that high on Jamar Chase. I'm standing by my statement.
I'm still high on him. I have to go. I have to go in this week acting like last week never happened because that's how you get tore up.
And
That's
he
how,
tears us up.
that's how you get. And he loves playing against us.
Yeah. Now the Cowboys obviously destroyed the Giants 40-0. Saquon Barkley fumbles the ball. He gets hit, fumbles the ball, touchdown. Daniel Jones, does he throw he threw a pick six in this? Threw a pick six, I think, in this game.
Three picks, I think.
3 interceptions.
To the same guy, didn't he?
Yep.
Was it the same guy? Oh man.
And I think he lost.
What's his name? Jordan something.
I think he lost the fumble too, so he had like 4 turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the defense, it was who had 3 picks? So it was Darren Bland had 1. Stephen Gilmore had 1.
Oh, that must have been the Jets game.
Oh, am I thinking about the Jets?
Yeah,
I'm thinking about that safety. That safety for the Jets.
I'm
thinking
about Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Same thing.
But I mean, like the Cowboys offense didn't do much anything.
About that.
That Cowboys defense did. I mean, Daniel Jones couldn't throw the football. He just started running. Like he
just looked bad all around.
It was bad. It was a bad game.
I went to sleep at half.
It was just
halftime. I think
a team that just they were the dark horse team. They were surprising everybody last year. He snuck into the playoffs, and here we go, week 1, and I guess the division rival. And y'all put up that 40 like nothing. Y'all couldn't get a field goal. Nothing. There's one thing to lose by like 40, but at least have some points on the board, right? At least say you did something. Like you go, that's one of those games where the coach like, we ain't looking at tape. We didn't do anything. Everything we did was wrong, clearly. Like on offense and defense, we didn't do anything right. So we're not watching it. We're going to start over from scratch. Nothing we did was right in that game. So now to the Bills Jets Monday Night Football game. The pageantry. I mean, everything with the 9/11, not celebrate, but memorial, remembering 9/11, what happened on that day, and you have Aaron Rodgers coming out. The lights are off, and the spotlight's on him. He comes up with the American flag to midfield. Everybody, the crowd, the Jets fans, I mean, are loud. They're going crazy. It's loud as I probably heard them on TV before. Jets fans are like, they're besides themselves. Like they feel it. They've been talking all season about this is our time. We're going to go to the Super Bowl. And 4 plays into the game, Aaron Rodgers pops his Achilles. Season over. Same thing we saw with JK, right? He's walking, he sits down. He's like, all right, you see him kind of gingerly walking off the field. Then he pan back. Now he's being carried by 2 people. By the time he was on that cart walking into the locker room, he couldn't even step on that foot. As soon as I saw that, I was like, that he's done. That's it. Yeah, like he's done. The air went out of the stadium after that point. Zach Wilson comes back in. I guarantee you Zach Wilson didn't think his story would be like, yeah, you got your job back after all season of, in your mind, going back to being a backup quarterback behind Aaron Rodgers possibly for a whole year. And not even after the first drive. You're still in the first drive. Like, I'm back out there. I'm the guy now. Okay. I'm the guy. Yeah. Zach Wilson back out there. But I'll give the Jets credit. They played that defense is legit for the Jets. They have a really good defense. Quentin Williams was destroying that Bills offensive line. And I know we talk about Sauce Gardner a lot, but it wasn't even just him. Like everybody in that secondary, I think for the Jets, they shut down everyone in that game. Diggs did have a few good plays in that game. For the most part, though, they did whatever they wanted to them. Now, going forward, that Jets offensive line is concerning. They got the Cowboys this week, and we saw what they did to the Giants. Michael Parsons may be doing some shadow dribbling on that line after a while. They're going
to do the same thing to the Jets.
Oh man, like it looks bad. But look, it's funny the way the Jets players celebrated after that game. I was like, this was their Super Bowl. It may not get any better after this. To be quite honest, this may be the best they feel all year.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really have too much else to say about that game. I mean, we saw it with the walk-off punt return in overtime for a touchdown. I mean,
that was nuts.
I see why they celebrated because, I mean, that's probably the last opportunity they're going to be able to celebrate like that for the rest of the year.
Yeah. Next week is going to be a real gut check. It's that Cowboys defense.
The irony that they got to put back the quarterback that he said he didn't want.
Man.
And he has to go in there and play for the rest of the year. Well, we don't even know if he's gonna make it there. Like they may pick somebody up by then. I don't know. They better go get Jacoby Brissett or something. But
Joe
yeah,
Flacco still out there. Go get Joe Flacco. He won some games.
I think the
Go
line.
trade for Trey Lance. Trade for Trey Lance.
Trey Lance looking good right now.
Joe Flacco like what, 37?
30, 38,
30.
39?
No, he's like 38,
Is he
39.
40?
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's
like
close.
Matt Ryan came in the same year. Matt Ryan's in a booth right now. And
Yeah.
Joe Flacco coming into that situation where the line might not be the best. It's like, I don't know. But yeah, it just sucks. I mean, it's one of them things where it's like, damn, I actually feel bad for the Jets. Like, I don't hate the Jets that much. Like,
No, I don't. Yeah, I don't hate them.
Like, I hate that. It actually gives me like paranoia because I'm like, I put myself in their shoes. Like, damn, I couldn't imagine like for it to be week 1 and that happens. It's like I didn't even get a couple games. I don't even know what this was going to be, and you know that just gets ripped from underneath you. So sucks for them. The fact that they playing the Cowboys next week, I mean, good riddance. I mean, offensively, they're not going to get anything going. Maybe they can make it a low scoring game if they play just as good defense or whatever the case may be. Keep it a low scoring game, but yeah, it just sucks that they'll never know what if at this point. And Aaron Rodgers did tweet out not that long ago or post on Instagram, and he said, completely heartbroken, and he said, I shall rise yet again. End quote.
What is it, a Dark Knight?
Right.
That's what
Gotham City, right?
He at home with them shrooms, man.
Oh yeah, he's on that ayahuasca. That's what he's on. He's on that stuff, man.
Yeah, that
he's good right now. But I'll pose this to you guys. Do you think at this point, now Aaron Rodgers will be what, 39 next year? 38, 39? Do you think he rehabs and comes back at this point? Like
he shouldn't.
I don't think he should. I think that like I can understand if he had already played a few games, like if they were like 8-1, 9, and like something like a really good record, and then potentially to win the division, and then something happens and he's out, and didn't want it to end that way. But you really didn't get out of the first quarter, and the season is over. So I'm like, you got your money already. Like it's
the league has the league evolved. Like we're not at the stage now where you can just show up to a team. And just because you're a vet and you've had success and you've been around for this long, that you just can't work out like the rest of your teammates. Like you're damn near 40 years old. Like, and I know you're not putting in the same work that you're putting in with your teammates. And at the game today, with the speed that the game's at today, like those are the things that's going to constantly. I mean, it's kind of inevitable. Like if it didn't happen week 1, it could have happened week 2, week 3. Like he's damn near 40 years old. Like. We don't really look at him kind of like Tom Brady. You know, it's not really the same Iron Man type view when we look at Aaron Rodgers. It's kind of like when you look at Aaron Rodgers now, it's kind of like all I see is like a privileged quarterback who just he runs the show and
Brett Favre.
Yeah, like
he's become his own worst enemy.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, he's been a successful quarterback, but it's like he ain't really did nothing lately that's been impressive. So I don't know. I just don't see him as in that way.
Yeah, he'll be 40 in December. So yeah, it's pretty down for him.
Yeah, I think that it's obviously everybody saw, the Broncos did it with Peyton Manning and the Buccaneers did it with, Tom Brady. And it's like, those guys were, look, Aaron Rodgers is a 4-time MVP. Like he's one of the greatest quarterbacks of his generation and possibly of all time. If you're a GM, you got to get out of the habit of trying to pick up these 38, 40-year-old quarterbacks. The Broncos and Buccaneers got lucky. They got lucky. Like we saw in that game against when they played the Ravens. And Peyton Manning started to get hurt a little bit after that game. And now Peyton was like, yeah, that's it. I ain't doing this no more.
He couldn't turn his neck. He couldn't.
Yeah, he's like, nah, I ain't doing this no more. So it was like we got to stop. When I heard that they were like, oh, we're going for Aaron Rodgers, I'm like, you're literally like banking your entire season off of one player, your potentially 40-year-old quarterback.
Yeah.
And like they said going into the season, yeah, you signed Aaron Rodgers, but they didn't do anything about the offensive line. Mekhi Becton, since he's been there, he was one of the last number one draft pick they had. He's been hurt the entire time he's been there. Yeah. He hasn't played a full season. I think he's played a grand total of 4 games in like the last 3 years. And then they have another Dwayne Brown, I think, or whatever. And he's like 30. I think he's old. He's old as Aaron. He's like 38 at right tackle. So, like you said, Trey, if it wasn't week 1, it was gonna happen at some point. It might happen against the Cowboys. Like with Micah Parsons, like it was gonna happen. Aaron Rodgers, I think they said has been sacked over 500 times. Like he's been hit a lot. And we saw the last couple of years he's had an ankle. He's been having some. Usually he was like in his prime was pretty healthy. The last couple of years though, he's had some ankle stuff, quad stuff, hamstring stuff pop up. And it's like he's starting to. I mean, you play in the league for 15, 16 years, your body's gonna break down. It's a gift from God that he's gotten this far without having major injuries for real. Mm-hmm. So look, I'll give credit to the Jets, but this is as good as it's gonna get, man. And I'm pretty sure a lot of Jets fans were happy they won that game, but I'm pretty sure after that Monday morning when the realization set in that he was out for the year, they're like, oh, crap. And we got the Cowboys this week. I think their defense is going to hold them in a lot of football games, but they're going to lose. They're going to lose a lot of heartbreakers. I feel like this Jets team is going to lose a lot of heartbreakers this season. And before we get to this Bengals preview for the Ravens, real quick, I just want to mention, since everybody seems to be so high, everybody on Josh Allen, I didn't realize he's 0-5 in overtime games. I didn't realize that. 0-5 overtime games. So this was his 5th one. They said the last one was a game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers where they came back and lost. Before that was the Chiefs overtime game in the divisional playoff where they lost. And then before that was also another playoff game. So in majority of the cases that he's lost in overtime, they've been critical games for them.
Yeah.
He threw 2 of those picks in that game for the Bills. Like, he just threw it up there.
Punts.
Like, I saw somebody post on Twitter. They were like, the way Josh Allen was throwing the ball, he was like, and Stephon Diggs down there somewhere. He just threw it. He just chucked it. Like,
he's also up to 84 total turnovers.
Yeah, mostly NFL.
And Lamar's at, I think, 55.
55, yep.
So it's almost.
They always get on Lamar about ball security.
All right. Josh Allen has almost 30 more turnovers than Lamar.
Yeah, they always get on Lamar about. I'm just saying. Yeah. And Josh Allen needs to just stop throwing his body at people. I don't know why this man does this.
When the first down is 10 yards away.
Like he ran outside and he didn't have to jump in the air. It was like it wasn't the first, it was a 2-yard gain. And he jumps in the air, throws his back at the linebacker. I'm like, why? What are you doing? And I'm like, this man doesn't care. He's a menace. He's a menace.
Yeah.
He goes out there and just throws the football wherever, throws his body wherever. He's like, I feel like in his mind, I'm invincible. I can't get hurt. There's no way I can get hurt. I'm Josh Allen.
Yeah.
All right, Bills fans. We'll see.
2 more years.
I'm not liking this season for y'all already. All right, this Ravens Bengals preview. I think they had the Ravens as well. I saw before 3-point underdogs in this game. They're playing in Cincinnati. Obviously, I said the Joe Burrow and the Bengals coming off an off game. Defense, for the most part, their defense, like the score is a little bit misleading because for most of the game, they were at 3-3 or 3-0 for a while, like during that game before the Browns finally started opening it up. Now I think the being their first divisional game and the Bengals at home, I haven't heard the Bengals say anything, any trash talk yet. They may be coming Thursday or Friday. Who knows? But going into this game, knowing that you're going to be down Ronnie Stanley, you're going to be down Tyler Linderbaum. So you got Sam Mustipher as their starting center and Macari as your left tackle, who's serviceable. Like, he's decent. He can play pretty much any position on the line, but he's not necessarily great at anything. But again, you're relying. It's another sub to the offensive line unit. We saw this the first 6 weeks of last year. They didn't have the same line configuration for like 5 or 6 weeks. It kept rotating guys in and out, even during the game. Like, it was a lot of confusion going on about who was out there, who's in. That's going to be a real something to watch, I think, this game. Now, I will say for the Ravens on offense, what they need to do is, I understand Monken didn't want to throw the football, but this may be one of those play action power run football games. You got Hill, you got Gus Edwards. Maybe, I don't know if they bring up Melvin Gordon or not. It's Wednesday. I haven't heard anything. So maybe they're just going with the guys they got right now. Mark Andrews, I think he practiced today, so it looks like he's going to be back for this game. I think that they have the talent to, especially on the outside with the wide receivers, to get things done, but they're going to need to set that up with the run game. Lamar's going to need to take more opportunities to run the football in this game. He's going to need to hold his pride a little bit, swallow his pride, and if he sees something for 30 yards, take it.
Yeah.
Don't worry about everybody else saying this is a game they need to win, because with the game, even though they won the game against the Texans, the way the media was talking, it made it sound like they lost. Sound like they lost the football game with how bad that offense played, at least in the first half. I think it's imperative on the Ravens. They need to have a better showing offensively than they did last week. And that may be Andrews gets 10, 12 targets in this game. Zay gets a few plays, 5 or 6 catches. Maybe Rashad gets a few catches. I think what I did like what I saw from last week was Odell drawing those pass interference calls. He got 2 big ones, I think, during that Texans game, where he's out there. Like, we've been saying that for years. Like, we would love to have a wide receiver that can just, even if he doesn't necessarily catch the ball, it's still impacting the game because they're drawing that automatic first down. I mean, it's a spot foul. So, I mean, you're potentially getting 25, 30 yards on these pass plays. So, doing more of that on offense. Pat Ricard snaps got to come down a little bit. I feel like they're losing like a lot of skill. They're not allowing another skill player to be on the field when Ricard's on the field. Like, I'd like to see more of those do like 2 running back sets. Maybe you have Justice Hill and Gus out there, doing some stuff or whatever. On the defensive side, I think that I don't think they have to change too much on the front 7. I think they with Patrick Queen and Roquan, and they show Roquan, even during the All-22, like he's making assignments, he's moving guys here, he's doing a lot. Like, it looked like Ray back in the day. Like, Ray was commanding that defense, moving guys here and there, so getting guys in their spots. It's going to be very imperative on that back end, though. The safeties, now that Marcus Williams is out on Geno and Kyle, Brandon Stevens and Rock is out there and all them, they cannot get beat deep.
Yeah.
They cannot get beat deep in this game because of Jamar and T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd. Like, they're still going to have those guys out there. And we've seen the last 2 years, those that wide receiver core tends to give us problems. So I think if they do a good job, too, like you said, of this, like they did the Texans game, keeping things in front of them and not letting a Jamar Chase get like a 50-yard catch and run or stuff like that happened the last couple of seasons, I think this is a very winnable game for the Ravens.
Yeah. I think it's definitely a winnable game. I think when we did our predictions, I had us split in this series. I think I did have us losing to the Bengals at home. Very, very still possible for that to happen, but I do think that we can win. I think we are down. Since we're down those crucial players with our line and everything, is still going to be an uphill battle to get that done. I do think we're going to see more Patrick Ricard, just because they're just going to be using him to help with the blocking at this point, because since we're down those Tyler Linderbaum and Ronnie Stanley, They're probably going to use him to kind of supplement that. I do anticipate them probably bringing up Melvin Gordon to assist with the run game as well. Since we're down JK, so they're probably going to activate him at some point. I think they're probably waiting until like Saturday to decide who, if anybody's going on IR too. So they probably, I think they have till Saturday to decide if, and that'll be a telltale sign of, what's really going on with these guys. Are these injuries 2-3 week injuries, or are we looking for more than 4 or 5 weeks? So that'll kind of just play a part in how I'm feeling as well. But yeah, I think like you said, I think it does need to go through the run game. I think we need to see what we got in the run game and just build off of that with the play action, like you said. I like what I saw from us, so I feel like they're still going to have a pretty good game, as long as Lamar tries to limit some of those mistakes that he made in week 1. So I'm hoping that we don't have as much rust coming into this game offensively, but I think we'll be okay as long as we can be protected enough to make the big plays that we need. As far as defense, I'm not really concerned, to be honest. I think that the Bengals scoring only 3 points does kind of speak volumes. It was week 1, but I think everything outside of our cornerbacks, I'm not really concerned with. I think we are going to get some pressure this week, and force Joe Burrow's hands a bit. He's already going to be on alert because he going up against the Ravens defense. He always kind of he's gotten out number like a bunch of times, but he knows that this is not the same team from before, and they struggled with our squad last year in the playoffs. So I think they're definitely going to come ready. They're not going to bring that same game that they brought against Cleveland this week, but I don't think we're going to bring the same game that we brought against the Texans this week either. So I think we might actually steal this one this week somehow. And if we do steal this one with all of the injuries that we got and the players that we got down, I think that's gonna give us a lot of good momentum moving forward. And I do think Kyle Hamilton has a huge game this week as well. With Marcus Williams being out, I think his role gets even bigger, and he's just going to have even more opportunity to make a lot more plays. So I'm going to be looking for him as well.
Yeah. Honestly, it's a winnable game, but I think it's a game we should win. We usually get up for the Bengals games. The Bengals are a little wounded right now. This is a great chance to impose our will. So while y'all are talking, I was looking at some interesting stuff about the snaps because we were talking about Pat Ricard. So we use 20 personnel, 3 wide receivers, no tight ends, 2 running backs on 24% of our snaps, right? The rest of the NFL used that personnel 3 times combined.
Wow.
So and most of the time that was those Pat Ricard sets. They were counting him as that running back. So I think, I see that being used a lot more if we do focus on the run game. I don't know if that's beneficial considering our skill guys, like you said, Miles, but I see that being a focal point. I think we are going to focus on the run because I think, Todd Monken, he's a guy that adjusts to his personnel. Our personnel right now says we can't block in pass pro.
Right.
We're not able to chuck the ball downfield. So we got to adjust, maybe get some play action going, really establish the run. So I think that's the strategy. I think we can win that way. I don't know if that's the long-term solution for us. But, I think in this game we can steal one by playing downhill, smashing them in the mouth, and then just playing tough defense. I think that's going to be the key to the game. I think we can hang with them defensively. Like Corey said in the chat, since we've had McDonald, his scheme has been able to keep the Bengals in check. And I think, one of the keys is keep everything in front of you, get to the quarterback. Back when we played the super aggressive man scheme, we got ate up by the Bengals, and that's just not our strength at this point. So I think we have the personnel, we have the team to lock them down defensively, and I think we just gotta get downhill offensively. So, I think this is a winnable game, and I think we should take it.
Yeah, I would say Trey. You said not Travis. You said Kyle Hamilton. Did Trey? Did you say Kyle Hamilton?
Yeah.
You said Kyle Hamilton. I'm expecting a Darius Washington to have a big game in this game. I think you saw him like in the second half, especially like he got a sack in that game. Like he was kind of being used all over. He was kind of taking that Kyle Hamilton role a little bit in that second half. And I think he's since preseason he's been playing extremely well. Probably been the best performing cornerbacks of at least the last 6 weeks for the Ravens. So I expect him to be more involved in this game. I expect him to kind of show out too in this game. Like I said, this is I'm pretty sure Roquan and Patrick Queen and all of them, Roquan's only been here for at least he's been here for 2. I think 2 of the games. He was there in the regular season when we won, and then when we lost in the playoff game. So but they get a chance to they know what the Bengals feel about us, and they feel like they're their big brother to us now, and they can kind of come in and dominate us, and we're going to their house, and but I think that Roquan and like I said Patrick Queen are playing at a mid-season form right now. And if last time that Ajabo had a sack in the game before this one was against the Bengals, so I'm like it could potentially get a little spooky for Joe Burrow, in this game. So it's that Ravens defense could dominate. Now I'm gonna do a score, so I'm gonna say I'm gonna tamp down a little bit this week. I'm gonna say I'm gonna do 21-13. So I'm gonna do 21-13.
I think it's going to be close. Ravens. I think it's going to be 23-17. And this Lamar hasn't played in Cincinnati and I don't know how long. Remember,
it's been a while, yeah.
A while. He's been injured. I think he'll have a little bit more juice than he had in that Texans game, and we get it done at the end of the game. I think it's going to be back and forth, but it's going to be low scoring. It's going to be pretty good defense on both sides, but I think we're going to edge them out 23-17.
I think I'm gonna go with Miles' score. Did you say 21-13?
Yeah.
21-13. Yeah, I see 21-13. We win.
Yeah, I think this needs to be the Lamar show this week. It needs to be. Yeah. Lamar needs to be like he still played decent. He had some decent runs, but he needs to be like on point. Needs to be the Lamar show this week.
Yeah.
If Lamar is on, the Ravens don't lose. Like I've never seen Lamar be on and the Ravens lose. So I'm like, if Lamar is on, we go in that game and Lamar seems to be on. Like he's taking the option runs, he's throwing the ball well. Like if he's doing all that, I think it's pretty good for Ravens. So,
the dog agrees.
Yeah. Thank you everybody for watching. That's it for this week. Don't forget to like and subscribe, share with your friends or family members. Hopefully Ravens pulled this one out. I saw the weather: Cincinnati 76 degrees, partly cloudy. So good weather game. Yeah, so no issue with rain or anything. So yeah, hopefully Ravens pull this one out. But we'll catch you guys later, and we'll see you next week. Peace.